My novel is called Kilroy, and it is narrated by a young, astonishingly naive Irishman called Evan, who moves to the city in 1995 and gets a job at a .com company thanks largely to a friendship with an older man called Sam, who becomes his boss. Suffice it to say, Sam is a man who makes Evan feel unusual, as will become clear from this section I'm about to read. The excerpt comes from the middle of the book, and it takes place on the day of the launch of Windows 95, which, as most of you probably remember, was a fairly momentous day in the life of the city. I can recall queues of people outside software vendors waiting for the little blue boxes, and a great sense of excitement. So here, Evan's company is having a party to celebrate this event, and Evan has been charged with unwrapping a huge ice sculpture, which has been commissioned as a centerpiece of the company. San Francisco in 1995 was a time of ice sculptures. The alarm on my watch went off, and I began to remove the foil slowly, circling the huge buffet table like it was a maypole, gathering foil in balls and setting it behind me on the ground, taking great care not to knock anything over. The sculpture was beginning to catch the rays from an artfully placed dado light on the rafters above, and as the wrapping revealed the bottom, then the middle, a representation of a person or people began to emerge. I unwrapped the last of the foil, stood back and drank it all in. Rising from a spume of icy waves was the face of Sam, an incredibly lifelike Sam Coles. I pushed aside a tray of ahi tuna and tested the buffet table for weight. It suggested that it could take me, so stepping up onto it and holding the sculpture at the base, I pulled myself up level with this man. From beneath, the perspective of Michelangelo's David is perfect, because his head is slightly bigger than the rest of his body to account for foreshortening in the eye of the person walking around the base. But from up here, the proportions of Sam were eerily accurate, a recreation of lips and jaw and Adam's apple. There was that luxurious hair, a little long all over, and the smile, which was ever so slightly come hither without arrogance or conceit. But I had drunk in these features in person before, and he was an overweight, older, married man. I had been down on Folsom Street and seen what was on offer, and there, among the super effeminate boys in the t-shirts and the burly muscle men, there were neither Sams nor men who liked men like Sam, which left me here, staring at a pair of majestic frozen eyes, willing me to draw my face closer. I moved in and kissed him with my eyes closed, and was overcome by how cold his lips were and how unlike a real kiss this was. And then I remembered it was a sculpture, and realised with panic that I was stuck to him and quite immovable. I tried to work myself free by pushing my tongue between the ice and my own lips, but then my tongue got caught, and as the frozen lips recognised their trapped prey and tightened their grip like a once-kicked limpet, to pull away from the sculpture quickly became an impossibility. Standing up here, my feet between ceviche and swordfish, my mouth already numb, I was properly stuck, and any time I tried to move, I could feel the fabric tablecloth beneath me shifting slippily, and when I tried to move with a little too much vigour, the glasses began a tiny, ominous rattle of their own, and I had to stop altogether. And it was impossible to escape that reflection, offered back by a glassy simulacrum of pupil, like I had been checking my teeth for spinach on the back of a restaurant spoon. My tongue was burning, and the only relief was in pressing it further onto the ice, which stuck it there even more. And now the tip of my nose was stuck, and I recalled one mountaineer in a book that had lost his nose to frostbite. For a few minutes I stood still in a rising panic, trying to breathe warmth onto my captor, trying to get Sam's mouth to melt sufficiently to set me free, but he trapped me good and proper. The lips I had so desired before were now pillowy manacles, the glassy stare a grim affirmation of my darkest ever thought, still unutterable, although there was no denying I was where I was, because I was who I was. I tried to cast a glance down at my feet and see if there was anything by under the buffet table that could be heated and lifted by foot. Something I could maneuver up here to help me range free. But it was impossible to see down there. All I could find was Sam's unblinking gaze and me frozen within it. I had to escape. I wrapped my arms around the sculpture and tried to decapitate Sam from it at least. But ice is ice, brittle, sure, but tough enough and freezing against the bare skin on my forearms, which I had to make sure not to get stuck to it. The sculptor had said it would take 4 hours for the smallest details to begin to melt. So I continued breathing on his mouth and tried to think. Assuming I had the strength to do so, if I pulled the entire thing off the table and onto me, there was no guarantee that the part connected to my face would disengage, or that I wouldn't be mashed beneath it into a horrendous, fleshy slush puppy. I tried to take comfort in the fact that I still hadn't destroyed the food, but if I didn't alert someone and get them to help me, I could still be here when the screen on the door was removed and the entire company, those wives, life partners and spouses, and Sam moved into this room. I had to shout for help. If someone came in, I could tell them I had done it as a bet. I could always say, Fred was here, he made me do it, and then he could run away. No, but the alternative was much worse. I come back later. Jesus, a voice had sounded behind me, and I turned around to the right and instantly howled at the ripping sound emanating from my lips. Don't move, I help you. The figure hove into the corner of my eyelid, and I could make out a Guatemalan woman in her early 40s leaning against the table, wearing the light blue smock of the cleaning company. A half-full black refuse sat by her side. She was tattooed, her brow with 2 large Gothic dollar bill signs in greenish black ink, her right forearm with an intricate portrait of Tupac Shakur, his crypt bandana in a bow about his head. She had a gold tooth and was holding an empty office bin, and judging from her slackening jaw, she was trying and failing to come to terms with what she was seeing. Was there any remote chance that this type of behaviour was customary in Guatemala, like a Cinco de Mayo thing? No, I had been caught. She would set me free, but after she would talk to someone, and what would she say to them? Who would she talk to? Had she met Sam? Oh, God, almost definitely. Would she connect this to him? Probably. I mean, the sculpture was that good. Once I had been steamed off it, she would be able to recognise his face, and maybe she already knew him. Sam worked here sometimes and was exactly the kind of hail fellow, well-met charmer that would natter with the cleaner as she vacuumed and dusted around him. Would she tell Sam about this, and if so, how exactly would she phrase it? Did she speak enough English to convey the situation, or did he understand enough Spanish for her to really go for it? When she came back, the cleaner was carrying a basin of hot soapy water and a mug emblazoned with the words "point cast." She set the basin down on the edge of the table, took the cup in her hand and filled it, and then gently stood up on the table between the lobster tails and the Mary Rose sauce. She moved close to my face, lifted the cup above my forehead, and gently, like at a christening, she poured the hot water down my face, and as it sluiced down around the contours, I could feel it blend with the melting ice of the sculpture. There were tiny crackling sounds, and I could feel my nose coming free. I licked at the warm water with the edge of my freed tongue, then ran it over my lips, which came free also. And for the briefest moment before they lost their contours, Sam's lips felt warm too, and I swallowed some water. She stood down and moved the basin away, then gave me an arm and helped me down. Thank you. Needless to say, that was a bet. Where's Fred? I'll kill him. She shook her head, smiling, and when she went to leave, I stopped her. I don't know what you saw exactly, but whatever it was that you think you saw, do you think you can be quiet about it? I mean, can this whole thing possibly be just between you and me? Her blank face. Here's the deal. I'm sure you like your job, and I certainly like mine. You like your job? Te gusto? Trabajo? Great, yes, because, I mean, so do I. I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't understand half of what goes on in work. I mean, I guess the buzzword is convergence, you know, television plus internet equals, I don't know. This was hopeless. She shrugged and left, and using a napkin from the buffet table and the bowl of hot water, I cleaned away the blood. Sam's mouth had melted away, and the bottom of his nose, but his eyes were still clear, witnessing, not blinking. I climbed the table once more, and using the point cast cup, poured the water over them, watching bloody tears sluice down his cheeks, melting him away into blankness. And then I got back down, straightened the buffet table, and left. I spent hours that night sitting by the cliff at the top of Telegraph Hill, thinking about what I could do to fix it, but I couldn't think of anything. Those glass eyes had seen me, and I had seen myself in them. It was 4 miles to my apartment in Haight, and by the time I pushed off for home, it was getting on for 11. The streets were quiet and slick with fresh rain, and I cut through North Beach behind Columbus Avenue, passing the many adult movie theatres. Without realising before that I would, I went into one and parted a curtain behind which sat booths like those that used to deliver passport photos, but with doors. I shut the door behind me. I'd never been in a place like this before. On the wall in front there was a screen, and to one side of it a roll of greasy 2-ply toilet paper. On the screen a menu of pornography and a coin slot. I fed a few dollars worth into the slot, and from the menu chose a video in which a group of hirsute Turkish men of all ages stood masturbating in a circle, while in the centre an older man and a young woman had vigorous, passionless sex on what looked like a yoga mat. Another first. Outside, a queue was snaking down Columbus towards Compuland, and then the bells of St. Catherine struck off in the distance. A voice on a loudhailer asked everyone to stand back, and for a moment, nothing at all happened. Then a clap of thunder, and the doors of the consumer electronics stores, the bookstores, and the record stores around all of the city yielded on their hinges to the slavering hordes rushing in and grabbing at sky blue boxes. Striking bells announced the dawn of the Age of Enlightenment. It was now. The rain was confetti. Windows were flung open, and love declared loudly to the stars. Thanks.